Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Andrew Turner, founder and host of the G&T Sessions podcast. And today we have this is a historic episode actually, because there's only two people in the whole world that have come back on the show twice. And here we have Mr. Alejandro Canonero. How are you?
Yeah, great. Thank you for having me. It's great to see you again.
Of course, always a pleasure, always a pleasure. And the thing is about Alejandro, which if anybody's watched or followed my podcast over the last few years, you will know that Alejandro came on previously, and he was, when we recorded actually, he was in the same place we were now. I think, can you just explain to the audience where you're from? Where you joining us from today, should I say?
Yeah, same city, different house. Say in a basement as well.
Underground. It's an underground.
Underground, yes.
So whereabouts are you?
I'm in Madrid in my house. We just came back from Dubai with the family after 3 years there.
Okay.
So I'm enjoying the good food, good culture.
The paella.
Family, yeah.
Nice. Well, if anybody's been to Madrid, I've been to Madrid. I worked in Madrid quite a bit with Telefonica. So on the Gran Via, okay. So know it well. I actually went to see the Black Eyed Peas in Madrid actually once. I flew to Madrid, yeah, and I just didn't realise that the Black Eyed Peas were playing that night. So literally I went straight from the airport, straight to the concert place, and literally went to the concert. Just completely unplanned, completely random. Because, obviously they don't, anyway.
Yeah.
It's a slight aside. Anyway, one of the things that, if anybody's been following this show for the last few years, you'll know that what I try and do with guests is bring on guests that have done something, really, really smart, intelligent, legendary, but also linked to the kind of hypothesis of this show, which is about growth. It's about personal growth, business growth. It's about technology. However, so G&T, growth and technology. However, it's interesting. When I was speaking to a guest the other week, actually, they said that actually what you should call it growth and transformation. That's a bit more mouthy, isn't it? I suppose, but tech's now kind of such a, I don't know what you call it. It's such a
omnipresent.
Yeah, omnipresent. It's everywhere. That's right. Yeah, which we'll get onto. The other thing is then, we should obviously. So today's episode is very relevant for that. I think when we get into the topic with Alejandro, but then also we talk about gifted and talented people. And for anybody that's seen the previous episode of the session with Alejandro, you'll know that he's a very gifted and talented individual. But we'll touch on that as we go through this topic today. But I suppose, welcome Alejandro, and thanks for joining the show today. And I suppose for people that don't know everything about you, I mean, could you maybe start with something that's happened most recently? With a really momentous milestone that you've achieved. Because I now need to call you doctor, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, you must. Thank you, Andy. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here with your show. It's really an honor. Thank you for your kind words of introduction. Yeah, recently have been busy and trying to do the most of my time on Earth. So I've been finishing my PhD that I was working on for 6 years, focus on what makes SaaS and cloud companies succeed or fail. And as an outcome of that research work that took me 6 years to complete, is based on primary research on the existing literature around platforms, ecosystems, cloud, SaaS, and AI technology. But also it's an outcome of conversations I had over the years and structured interviews I have with executives that are leaders in this field at companies like Google, Amazon, Hewlett-Packard, Oracle, Microsoft, and many others, where I ask them questions about what makes a technology company fail or succeed. And that's what I documented in my book, right? So I turned the thesis into a book that's now available on Amazon. You can buy it, The Word of the Ecosystems, and we can talk more about that, about the title and why it's called like that. So I'm very happy that I took some time off from work and I used it to complete those two bucket list projects for me. Yeah.
Bucket list, okay. So so for people who can watch this on YouTube, this is the book here. It's a hell of a. As we were talking about before we came on this episode today, we realised it's actually now a pillow as well for all SaaS founders that are watching. You know, we're going to get a velvet sleeve for it, and then you can go to sleep.
Yeah.
Maybe there's with the audiobook you could do like a meditation as well. You know, like I will grow my SaaS company. I will grow my SaaS company. I will grow my AI company.
Yeah.
Maybe it's that. See, look, so like materials, I'm thinking, hoodies, t-shirts, bikinis, who knows what we could do.
We are thinking about all of that, for sure, for real. But I used to try to learn some things by reading and listening to them at the same time. I think Amazon and Kindle has audio sync where you can read and listen to what you're interested in. In fact, you can fall asleep by reading that book. You can use it as a self-defense. You hit someone in the head with those 500 pages. I'm sure they're going to leave you alone. And I was talking with a friend yesterday, Tom Pugh-Jones. He has an executive search company. And we were talking about rocking, right? You load your backpack and you go on a hike. So you do more exercise because you carry heavy load. You can put that book in your backpack.
Yeah, it's military grade, isn't it? It's military grade weight. Yeah,
exactly.
Feel the quality and the weight of it. Yeah. Oof. Come on, founder, wake up. SaaS founder, wake up.
Yeah. And realize what matters and what doesn't in this very high environment where everybody seems to know the truth about everything, even if they haven't done it by themselves.
Well, what? Ooh, okay, it's going to get spicy.
You can unpack.
Well, no. I suppose when you were just, thanks for explaining the kind of segue for that, because I think that's important. But then if you think about it, we're now in 2025, right? So between 2020, you basically say you published it late 2024. So you're talking between 2018 and 2024, that was the kind of the window. And if you think about the amount of change that's happened in that window, it's significant. So, I mean, I know we'll go into some of the information, the topics that are covered in this, but I suppose the first question I got for you was, why did you do it? Why did you, I know you've done other crazy things, which we'll talk about later, but which obviously I like to copy and do myself as well, like never turned down a crazy thing to do. But the question for me was going to be is why did you feel there's a burning need to get something like this out?
Yeah, thank you, Andy. It's unbelievable how much chaos I have seen at the companies I work for and others that I partner with in the way they manage the go-to-market strategy. When I say go-to-market, what I mean is sales, marketing, demand generation, of course, or positioning, all about marketing, sales, and ecosystem, working with customers, partners, and the rest of the industry to bring a technology to life and bring the outcomes that people want out of that technology. Right? And I've seen an awful lot of mistakes done. I've seen a lot of silos in companies where all the elements of go-to-market are not coordinated. Different technology, different people, different visions. And everybody I talk to and everybody I work for, they think they know they're doing the right thing. And maybe they are, but the rest of the people that are working with them do not. So there is no holistic strategy about building a partner ecosystem that will benefit customers and partners. And we still have an old-fashioned thinking there that partners are the channel, or maybe a partner is a strategic partner, and that's it. I think this is just so old-fashioned. That's 1800 thinking for me. And when they bring marketplaces and AI into conversations, I see posts on LinkedIn, we were doing that in 2015. So I see a lot of hype, but not really a lot of strategy behind what needs to be done to make a company succeed. Well, you know what is the saddest thing I have witnessed, which is the biggest loss, is the opportunity that is lost. The opportunity cost for not doing things right or not doing the right thing, both. Because big companies, they move and run after the next shiny thing, even after evaluating what they are missing, right? And they are after the big trend, the big fuss, the big noise, and they move. And everybody, all these executives that are admins of these big companies, just move to the next thing because they don't want to be questioned about what they did wrong or what they didn't do right. So I was awfully tired of seeing that chaos. And my employers and other companies I partner with, and I said, well, I need to put something out there that shares my thinking on, having a holistic view about this thing. And it's not about partners, it's about go-to-market. It's about how you manage the integration of your ecosystem and where do you belong, where do you add value, and how you make all the value chain progress to deliver the outcome that the customer wants. I think it's about summarizing is about, I wanted to save people time and I wanted to bring some order to the chaos.
No, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. This could be a long episode. We delve deep down the rabbit holes. No. I mean, but I suppose that's the thing is that if you look at some of the people that you mentioned on your intro, people have a perception, if they are not in that mothership, about how that mothership operates, And now, obviously, I have a lot of friends like you that they're either in the motherships or they've been in the mothership for a while and they've been to multiple motherships, and then they may be outside the mothership now. So that that kind of. But it's interesting that you grabbed the nettle, so to speak, as I would call it, and said, right, enough's enough. We've got to get this defined because it is so inconsistent. And I suppose one of the words that sprung to mind when you were talking just then was about what I would call alignment. Yeah. But also, is it a bit of denial as well? It's like denial where they think, well, I know best, and maybe it doesn't work out as they want it to go, But there's also the third one I was thinking about was education. So you because of these companies have been, and I mean, we may not go into specifics today, but some of these companies are seen up as like the titans of some of these industries. There's nothing on us. We're perfect kind of thing. So if you hire people into those organizations who are maybe more junior or on their kind of their growth journey, unless you give them a reference point, unless you manage them and lead them, right, and guide them, then they may go down the wrong rabbit hole. So I suppose, I don't know, those were three things: denial and education. Does that resonate with you?
I love it. And I love that you brought the word. Alignment was quite obvious and I liked it, but I love that you brought denial and education to the conversation, because denial and education, I think in some cases go together, and it's the following. Just because I'm at Google and I'm at Amazon, everybody supposes that I know what I'm doing, and more than half of the people that are there do not. Some of them are hired because they know someone, and this is something that I really, really hate in this industry. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And I truly hate it with a passion. It goes against.
That's how it works, Alejandro. Did you not? Yeah, I mean, I go. I know Alejandro.
I know, and I hate it with a passion. To be honest, that people get jobs that they don't know anything about, that they are not capable for, and that is the beginning of the problem. Because when you hire people that do not know what they are going to be doing, okay, they can learn. If they got the right attitude, they can learn. But no one is teaching them. No one is having a comprehensive run through of this is how we're going to run the show. Everybody in the same page. This is the language we use. These are the even the denominations of what we talk about. This is the taxonomy of how we operate. None of them do that. None of them. They expect that the person they are hiring will know what to do. You know what to do, right? Yeah, go for it. Yeah, get going. Yeah, deliver results. What about your crowd? I mean,
but then, I mean, I don't.
The biggest companies in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I've obviously, as you know, I worked at SAP right back in the 90s to the early 2000s, which is obviously quite a few years ago now. That was pretty chaotic, right? But we were in a massive growth phase, right? And everybody just got on with it. Yeah, we kind of we just muddled through, yeah. But we're working with, like you probably were when you were at Amazon and with Google and Teradata, etc. You're working with huge companies. They're chaotic as well, right? So, but I think what you seem to be amplifying here is leadership and direction and structure. Is that kind of some of those things that are, which unless you put some of those things in place, it's going to be on shaky ground. It's going to be on the wrong
foundations,
you're not going to get the outcomes you want, the results you want.
You need, I remember a word that I learned at Amazon, crafted probably by one of the most admired leaders, at least in my perspective, it's Jeff Bezos. I have a lot of respect for that. And there is an exercise that he introduced early on in his company, and it's the 6-pager. Right? If you go into a big meeting about an important topic, you write the 6-pager. Everybody sits and reads for 15, 20 minutes in the meeting. So everybody's in the same page, right? And then you talk about what you want to talk about, and you ask the questions you want to. I have been in many other companies for 35 years, right? 35 years I've been in this industry. And you have people flying in like an helicopter and asking questions that are already explained 20 times before, wasting time, derailing the conversation, and so on. I'm not copying Jeff 6-pager for what I talk about in ecosystem, the world of ecosystem and ecosystem management. I do not. But I think the principle is replicable in terms of you need to have, as you were saying, leadership having alignment sessions that go beyond you're going to do what I tell you, that go beyond that and says, well, these are our partner types. These are going to be our focus types. This is how we're going to go about it. And this is what I expect from you on a regular basis. And we go and recap and revisit everything until we all talk the same language. No one is doing it. I was at Google until last year. They are not doing it. Amazon never did it. People talk a lot of crap. And this is what I'm tired of. I think people need to be on the same page on how we go to market and align sales, marketing, and ecosystem building and development from day one. And you need leadership from the top, as you were saying. Having this, knowing this first. You have CRO, chief revenue officers, and you have VPs of sales that know nothing about partners. Why? Oh, no, I have the right person here. But if you don't understand what that person needs to collaborate with the other person and make it work, it's not going to work.
But just jumping in on that point is that, thank you. By the way, just to let you know, audience,
be careful.
Yeah, just to let you know, the audience, that actually Alejandro just told me before we came on air that actually he was supposed to be having a boxing lesson in Madrid this morning, and instead he came on this show.
I'm in that mode.
I'm going to get a few left hooks. I'm going to have to be ducking and diving, and it's like bobbing and weaving.
Exactly.
But one of the things I think that you just said at the end, which was about CROs and VP of sales, was that does it really depend on if you look at some of the people that are in those roles today, what has been their journey, right? Have they been have they gone through being an SDR, BDR, AE, account director, VP, business unit, director, Have they been just to the direct side? Have they ever been on the indirect side? Yeah, because as and it's that thing about what do you do direct, what do you do indirect. The complex sale out there today it is more leaning towards this kind of, it's not just one route. It's a complex recipe, isn't it? So is that because in their head their playbook is just direct, so they don't really see. I'll share one soundbite from one of my ex-colleagues who said, people who are in channel are people, or people who are indirect are the people that didn't make it indirect. Yeah, literally. Somebody said that to me a few years ago, right? And I just went, wow, that's an interesting line, right? But if you think about what you talk about in here, yeah, in this book, yeah, then that whole game has changed, right? Because the power of the channel, the power of the partnership model is absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's like a juggernaut. Yeah. And if you do, on the contrary of that, there's a guy that's the CEO of Medic, Medic, the process, right? So he runs an education company about that, and he was saying, I think he put a post out on LinkedIn the other week and saying, if you're not on one of these cloud ecosystems as a SaaS or a AI or whatever, software company, if you're not on an ecosystem, you're dead. Yeah. So, you've got these two contrasting views. I'm saying that the last one I just said was more recent. The one that I mentioned about if, you go to channel to die, basically, was obviously a few years ago, but it just shows how the switch, the kind of the which you know. I mean, I know you've done both, right? So I've done both as well. So
yeah, absolutely. No, I see your points. Appreciate that. So a couple of things I wanted to share and reflect on what you were saying. First, nobody was born knowing anything, so we learn as we go. You get a VP of sales, you never did channel, go and learn. They don't. They don't for a variety of reasons, from ego to lack of time, lack of prioritization, because everybody has the opportunity to learn something new. So it's education, like you were saying, the third word when we started the dialogue. So I don't see that happening. I also heard conversations about being disrespectful about direct sales or indirect sales, one or the other. That's why I call it the word of the ecosystems. And why I want to unpack that is these ecosystems, right? You have the ecosystem, Amazon, Microsoft, Google. You have people that are multi-homing, terminology from the platform terminology, that are in a few of those ecosystems like Deloitte, Accenture, KPMG. They are in all of those. There is a war between the ecosystems, and there are battles within the ecosystems. And this is one of them. Direct versus indirect, marketing versus sales. It's been there forever, right? Continues to be. And there are others. The battle between the chip manufacturers for the money of the platforms. NVIDIA, Intel trying to sell to the platforms because the platforms are buying a lot of chips to build more data centers, right? Then you got the battle of the platforms to convince the developers to learn their technology first. Yeah, that was the home ground of AWS. Developers loved AWS, and that's how they influence the whole purchasing strategy of the companies they work for. So you got the battle between the ISVs, the platform, and the service partners, all for the attention of the customer. And they want the customer to say, I want to go with Accenture, I want to go with AWS, I want to go with Splunk. And once they decide that technology will decide who are the other players in a big deal. And we're talking about multi-million-dollar deals. So whoever has the customer preference will dictate the other members of the equation. So there is another battle. So it's a Second World War, right? Battlefields in Russia, in Africa, in Western Europe. This is happening all the time. I'm not saying anything new, but people need to be aware. I list a number of battlefields in my book. I list 5 or 6, and there are more. So it's not only, I don't think there is any discussion about you need to be part of an ecosystem and know your place and add value to it to grow, number one. But then you need to be aware of all these battles to know how to play them. Otherwise, you're going to, a lot of people are in the AWS marketplace, but they're not selling anything. Why? Well, you need to know how to play this game and be aware of it. So that's what we discuss in the book as well, which is also formatted as an audio book. A very good narrator, not me, has much better English, and reads the book for you at the speed you want. So I encourage you to grab it. Buy my book, get a code from my book, download the audio book, and you can listen it for free. Or buy it.
Thank you for explaining, actually. So I suppose what you're highlighting is it's just not one battle, it's multiple battles. I think that Splunk example, I've seen that actually happen, where the power shifts, where the collaboration for the deal is thought to be X, Y, and Z. Then Z gets into preferred or into the pole position. Lewis Hamilton analogy, George joining Ferrari recently. And then the deck chair switch, and maybe what I've seen maybe is more potentially the services partner may get switched, less so than the cloud partner. But that's obviously happened as well, sounds like.
It happens as well, because ISVs like Splunk, they work with all of them. They work with all the platforms. So then the customer will say, no, I want that platform. I want that marketplace. In marketplace, the competitive difference is huge between Amazon and Google and Microsoft. So, it's that perhaps not an element that will be switched very easily if the customer has a preference. But then from an infrastructure perspective, from the products that you can use, I think it's easier to switch. Same for the professional services.
But when you talk about the problem, and obviously there's some historical things that happened before cloud and AI and SaaS and all these kind of things happened. So that the tension between different functions, who's running the show? Is marketing running the show? Is it a sales-led company? Is it a product-led company? Yeah. It's incredible actually that it's taken so long for somebody to grab this problem and write about it. Because I think what you said when we spoke a while ago before we decided to do this episode was that you were struggling to find somebody to talk about go-to-market. There's a lot of literature out there about how to build a product, what technologies to use for building a product. You can go to O'Reilly, but there's not really anything about go-to-market. Was that your did you notice that as well?
Yeah, I agree with your perspective. I mean, there is a lot written about platforms. In fact, Kusumano and Annabel Gower from the UK were the giants I put my stand on, because they started to talk about platforms 2002, and they talk about the Apple platform and the battle with BlackBerry, if you remember, how not being part and building an ecosystem is a sure destiny to death, right? They were competing with Apple. They didn't have an ecosystem around the BlackBerry, and they died. And they had a better product at the beginning. But then with the ecosystem and all the features that Apple brought to the iPhone, they killed it. What was the ecosystem they built? They built an ecosystem of developers that built apps for the phone, and that created more value to the user. More users went to that platform. More developers wanted to come to that platform because that was where the money was, because there were more customers. And that is called the network effects, right?
Yeah,
and
it's like the fort. You're creating like a moat, aren't you? You're creating a moat around your strategy.
Also, you can create a moat about it. But, yes, I agree. There was a lot written because for part of my doctorate degree, I had to do a comprehensive literature review and search, find, read everything that was written before. And then about platforms and ecosystems and cloud and SaaS. And then you have a lot of written about platforms, and mostly is, always about the same companies, Uber, Amazon, and Intel, in the past when they build an ecosystem around them, and not how they do it. So this is the first thing that struck me is a lot of people talk about what others do, but they don't know or they don't explain how they do. Right? That was number one. And then you have a lot of people writing about partners and selling software and this and that, and it's always the same page. With a different package. No one talked about what makes a cloud, SaaS, and AI ecosystem grow, fail, or succeed. And this is my focus. This is my niche. You can talk about many other things around this, but the underpinning technology of any platform business is the cloud, is software as a service, and now AI. Without those components, your offering in your platform will not be the best in the market. There could be, of course, exceptions. If you run a private cloud for many reasons, security, performance, or whatever reasons, and you make it work, yeah, good on you. It won't be the majority. So I wanted to know if this incredible economic effect that the platforms had on any market, Uber, Airbnb, wherever you go, you find it. How is that technology run? Because that technology is going to generate more business. So how is it run? What is the underpinning technology? So in my book, I start talking about the history of the cloud, the history of SaaS, the history of AI. So I talk briefly about that just to set the foundations, to have the reader in the same page. And then from there you build. And you say, well, what can I do around here? What is an ecosystem? I defined an ecosystem in the cloud and AI and SaaS environment. And then who are the members? And then how they go to market and how they can make the most of it, each member. And then how you combine it all together to grow. So this is something that I haven't seen. Maybe will come up, but I haven't seen it yet, where people describe what is working and then how to make it work and how to succeed. Some people take shortcuts, go to the end or go to the beginning, but no one connects it all together. So I think this is what the problem I want to tackle. And it was hard, and I had a go about it. Can it be better? Of course, but this is mine.
Well, no, it's a huge piece of work, isn't it? Because it's also very relevant. It's very topical. It's very timely. Yeah, it's a great time to bring this out.
You need to invest the time to go through it at your own pace, and you can jump from chapter to chapter. For me, as I said before, it's a war. It's a war between ecosystems. It's a war within the ecosystems, and that's why the chapters are, the call to arms, and it has different references about conflict. I know conflict is not good in humanity, but it was a reference that I felt compelled to use because it is what is happening in the business. So that's how you see it. If you go to my website, waroftheecosystems.com, you will see it has the same theme. And if you need help, we got a team of consultants that are working together here that we call it the special operations. We can go there and make it happen for you.
Okay. You like the milk tray guys with the black on and the rope around you, stuff like that. You kind of like shimmy down and then like through the window. It's the boardroom.
I have a lot of respect for.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because it's like yeah, I mean that's what I was going to say was because people are now transacting business through these ecosystems, and if you look at the growth statistics in the book, and obviously it's incredible how the revenue and the profit from these business units where they've kind of opened, they've basically publicly made available things that Google were using internally, things that AWS were using internally. It was interesting watching AWS reInvent in November. And I don't know if you had a chance to see it. Andy Jassy, who obviously was the CEO of AWS, probably when you were there, I would have thought as well.
Yeah.
He came back. It's like, you're supposed to be the CEO of Amazon now. He came back and did these videos like every day at the show, and I'm going, Andy, you're now like the big boss now. You don't need to be coming to. But to my mind, the way he's very articulate. Obviously, he's very good on understanding the stories of value about the impact that AWS has had with customers. And the interesting thing I found was that it was like he was, I wouldn't say he was helping Matt, who's the current CEO, because obviously Matt's come up through the ranks, I think, from product marketing and obviously to the role he had before he took over the CEO role. But it's very interesting to see that I think Andy still loves this business. He still loves the AWS business.
He created it, right? He created it.
Oh, okay, so he was the creator of it with Jeff, right? So, and I know you were there right at the beginning, weren't you, when you were working in Luxembourg? So it just seemed like, a bit like, like you could see the child, the kind of the young kid growing into the teenager, growing into the adult, and he didn't want to, disconnect from it. He was very inspiring. Andy's got such a good way of explaining why AWS and why you should work with the business.
Very knowledgeable, very knowledgeable. In fact, I joined them when not very early days, but I joined them when they realized that they needed an ecosystem to grow. And this is important. I joined them in 2015 to create the partner business for them, for the public sector business in EMEA, running Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And they were going direct, and they were very successful. With who? With the developers, with the small companies that had technical people on them. But then when they went to the enterprise and public sector, they clashed. There was no one with that knowledge, not understanding. And when I joined, Accenture didn't want to work with us. Capgemini didn't want to work with us. We had to convince them, in fact, tell you a story. We were bidding for the first European Union cloud tender, first ever in 2015. And no one wanted to partner with AWS for the European Union cloud tender. All right, I was looking partners everywhere.
For the EU, for the actual EU itself, the government.
Yeah. So I was running around looking for partners, and I was talking to all the commercial partners AWS had already. None of them wanted to partner with us. They were partnering with Microsoft, of course, because it was entrenched there forever, and some others. So I took the RFP under my arm. I went to Rome, and I met with a very senior guy, Francesco Bellessa, in Telecom Italia. And together, we crafted an alliance from scratch. We put together a bidding team from scratch, and we won the tender. Myself and my team and Telecom Italia won the first ever cloud tender in Europe. And that was an outcome of a conversation I had where we saw the opportunity of working together, right? And we were coming from very different worlds. Telecom Italia didn't understand anything what we did.
No, exactly.
And AWS didn't understand anything about bidding public tenders.
Right.
Working with the European institutions, working with very compliance and regulations-oriented organizations. It was the clash of the worlds. And it was very hard to make them work together. And that's how we created the beginning of an ecosystem there, where you need the best part of each player to make it happen. And I'm saying something that is extremely obvious, but you go there, you try to bid in a tender today, and you have the AWS people or the Google people not wanting the partner on it, and the partner not wanting them on it. And so it blows my mind. And it's just a power struggle and an ego fight. So, this is what we did. It was a wonderful story. We won, and for a few years, we were the selected cloud vendor for the EU by working with Telecom Italia. And since then, it grew and evolved, and there were other tenders and other bids.
But that's also what that is. Also sounds like that's thinking outside the box. Yeah. So thinking about new partnerships you can create where you can actually bring together different experiences to get a greater output as well.
Absolutely.
That's the great thing about that.
Yeah, we had verbal agreements from some other side that I'm not going to mention until the last day when they said, no, I'm not bidding with you. Fortunately, I had a plan B because I didn't trust them really. And we were ongoing already with Telecom Italia as well, right? But this is the world of the ecosystem at play. They had an agreement with Microsoft, right? But they were telling us that they were coming with us, so they will delay our response. We will not present the bid, and we will be out of the question. But we didn't trust that, and we had a plan B, and that's how we save ourselves. But in my book, I talk a lot about trust. But trust is not built out of nothing, right? You build it by fulfilling your commitments. I am all about doing what you said you're going to do. And that's why I did the Ironmans. I became a scuba diving instructor. That's how I did my doctorate, how I wrote my book, right? Is doing what you said you're going to do. And that's how you build trust with your partners. It's not just, I trust you because I trust you and because we are friends. So building trust with your ecosystem, being aware of a multi-homing opportunity where people will go where the customer wants to go. Trust will be broken sometimes, so it's a difficult game.
But it's also getting creative as well, because obviously you were thinking. Obviously, you were probably going a bit like, I don't know. Sounds like Alice in Wonderland or Alejandro in Wonderland. Where you're opening the door and there's like a brick wall, and then you go right. I'm going to go to Rome. I'm going to go and try and see if we can crack a deal off with you could say a company that's not normally associated with it, but obviously has got a very prestigious history. Yeah, I mean, I've spent 20 years on and off in telecoms myself in mobile, so there's a reliability and it's like a critical service, right? So there's that. You can think about the innovation you've got from AWS with a critical service. You've then got support for EU. So I mean, that's also about strategy and about creativity as well. So.
Yeah. I remember in the methodology you mentioned from this gentleman, MEDPIC. The P stands for paper. You need to know how the paper flows. Without a Telecom Italia, AWS didn't want to know how the paper flows. And if you don't do a proper response for a public tender, you're out. You're disqualified technically, out. So, these things are not crafted in a day. It took us a lot of time. But I saw the internal battles on who was more knowledgeable, who was more important in that deal. And that happens all the time in the ecosystem. And it's not going to stop now. It's going to continue to happen. But the more aware you are about what are those battles in the world of the ecosystem you are in and how they play out, how you play them with the world against other ecosystems that you are fighting against in that deal, on that customer, on that opportunity, the better prepared you're going to be.
So I mean, I love your passion, Alejandro.
Yeah.
And for people that don't know Alejandro, he's from Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Yes.
And over his left shoulder is a very nice picture of him finishing a triathlon, I think, isn't it? I think that's where you finished your triathlon.
Ironman Kalmar in Sweden. Beautiful. Beautiful people. Amazing, welcoming people. It's a party in the town Kalmar in Sweden where this Ironman takes place and people are clapping and supporting you. It's a beautiful experience. It took me, I invested 3 years just to prepare for my first Ironman. When I was 40 years old, I started to swim back and run, and I just grinded. I have no talents, but I have commitment. So I did it. I wasn't the
Resilience and grit.
yeah. And sometimes that's all you need to get things done, right? Yeah. I'm from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Got kidnapped, ran away. Went to England, did my MBA where we met in London. Stayed there in London for a few years. Then moved to Luxembourg. Then moved to Spain. Then moved to Dubai. Now I'm back to Spain. Lived in the Americas. So I've been moving around and learning from others. And I thought it was about time that I share what I learned. And that's why.
Yes, well, that's the thing. Is it's about giving back, isn't it? It's like actually, there's all that insight and that tacit knowledge in your head. How do you get it down on a piece of paper?
Yeah, sometimes, you're with a chip on your shoulder about being underestimated. At least that was my case. I have an approach and I'm quite relaxed and cool in some areas and some places, and people underestimate that and they think that I have no energy or I don't have the knowledge to do things. But I do have them. I do them.
I've never thought that, Alejandro. I've never thought that.
Well, you have a lot of people that are judging book by its cover. Although the cover of my book is beautiful, but never judge a book by its cover. So yeah. I learned a lot, and I want to give back. That's why I founded in the UK when I was there. I founded APARU, the Association of Argentinian Professionals in the United Kingdom, where all the Argentinian professionals now get together, do events together, and insert themselves in the community. I've been a Scouts leader in the UK, a Scouts leader in Dubai, leading youngsters to be prepared for life. I'm here in Spain. I'm a member of Protección Civil. It's a civil defense organization where I volunteer as well to help in situations like in Valencia, where the flooding took place. We help the community to be prepared for any emergencies. I'm always investing my personal time to something of value that has no economic value to me, but it's a good example for my kids. I got 4 kids, so better lead by example.
No, that's very good. You said everything about Valencia. What was the thing that happened in Valencia?
Well, it's a big flooding recently,
okay.
And it was a disaster. A lot of people lost their homes. A lot of people lost their lives, and the town is still recovering. So it's been very unfortunate event due to natural causes and human interventions. Like the fires in California at the moment, and many other events taking place in our world where other people need help. So my family and I are members of this organization where we try to help others in different ways.
So you're like an extension of the public services, effectively. You can you
Right.
donate your time and support to that.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm.
I go every Sunday there, or every Saturday, or whenever there's snow or ice. We need to put salt on the street. We need to take the snow out, or we need to help someone. If I'm on a shift and someone needs a doctor, and the doctor will arrive later, we go there and we do first aid, and we do the first intervention to help someone with cut, with an injury, with a fracture.
Are you like a first responder kind of thing as well?
Yes,
Okay.
it is first
wow.
responders. We support the police until the ambulance comes.
So that's amazing. That's amazing. So is your permanent home now in Spain then?
Well, nothing is permanent.
Are you still kind of multi-location?
Yeah, nothing is permanent in life. So we are here today and we are making the most of it. And it will depend on many factors. On my professional development, I'm still not done with making things happen in the enterprise world. So depending on what happens, if an opportunity comes along and we all need to move, we are keen to move. One of my kids already lived in 4 countries. So we are happy to enjoy life.
That's cool. So, I mean, if you were going to summarize, I suppose, the book in, if you were going to kind of give some takeaways or some kind of, and, I suppose also who are you talking to in the book? What would be that kind of, how would you explain that? Who are you trying to talk to with the book, and what would be the kind of the top 3 to 5 messages why they should, come off this episode, get on their laptop, go to amazon.co.uk.com, dot I don't know what Argentina. I don't know what the domain extension is for Argentina. What is it? AR.
Yeah, I don't know if there is a marketplace for Argentina yet, but there are many others. Yeah, the book has been bought in 8 countries already, and since we launched 15 days ago. Yeah, go to your favorite Amazon marketplace and buy it. The audiobook is also available in Walmart, Barnes and Nobles, and many other audiobooks.com. So you can download it from my website, worldoftheecosystems.com. But in a nutshell, I'm aiming to an audience that is people working in the technology sector, right? It doesn't have to be any particular one of the ones I'm talking about, because all the technologies today touch cloud, touch software, or touch AI somehow. So you need to know the environment you're going to be operating in from now on. So anyone working in the technology world, by developing technology, making technology work in somewhere like a professional services organization, or a salesperson, or a channel person, a partner person, anyone working in this environment needs to know how all the moving parts connect with each other and how to make them work for your benefit. That's number one. It's not segmented at 35 to 55 male and working for a cloud vendor. Although, when they ask you to create a media kit, that's what you do. But yeah, it's for anyone that wants to know how these environments operate. That's number one. And the key messages, I just did a LinkedIn post the other day about, be very, very careful the networks you create or join, because they will define your success or failure. And so be very wise about that. And the best technology doesn't succeed by being built in isolation. You can build something very smart, but if it's not embraced by an ecosystem, it won't work. Let me go back to Edison and the electricity. If you didn't have the cables and the poles and the devices consuming electricity, it wouldn't have worked, right? And from there, anything, a telephone, if you don't have another person on the other side to talk to, doesn't matter if you have the greatest telephone ever. So you need an ecosystem to be part of an ecosystem. And the same applies today with the technology we are seeing. Even with the AI platforms, I see sometimes, OpenAI with ChatGPT, like Amazon was at the beginning, right? Only for developers, only for the people that know how to use it. But now it's started to be embedded in other software, in other offerings. They could be developed, because you develop something quick if you go with a small team, right? I remember Jeff Bezos also had another mechanism to create efficiency in his organization with a pizza team, right? 2 pizza team, small teams, efficient, people talk to each other, make things happen. But then when you need to bring it to the world, you need to use the widest ecosystem possible to reach the furthest and the deepest with the more granularity possible of your technology. And there's something very positive about this technology, despite what the critics about them accumulating capital and profits. I believe platforms democratize the access to money or to a source of income for many, many people. Because with the platforms, a lot of people are developing apps, developing software. With Amazon, a lot of small people that are creating products are selling them to the world, and also are helping people to now be paying more for what they want, and because they can get it cheaper there. So I think there is a huge benefit to the population with what these platforms do. I remember hating taxis and being prisoner of the taxis pricing and how they manage us and how they manipulated everything. And now anyone can get an Uber and know what they're going to pay in advance. The same applies for many other things. So in a nutshell, what I will say is, don't think you're going to be in isolation successful if you want to create or put something in the market. Think about the place you have in an ecosystem. Look at the value chain for the customer. Where do you add value? Where your company, your SaaS company adds value, and how you can be part of a winning ecosystem. That's when you were mentioning when your friend talked about the importance of ecosystems today and how if you're not part of them, you don't succeed. Yeah, true. Look, IBM was the creator of enterprise AI with Einstein. I forgot the name now.
Watson.
Big Blue and
Yeah, what? Yeah. Oh, yeah, the chess game. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
How long have they been leading? They beat the chess master 30 years
Yeah,
ago.
Kasparov.
Did they bring it to market successfully? No. Why? It's not for this conversation, but ecosystem is one of them. So, think about the ecosystem you want to be part of and how you're going to bring your value out. I say, no, they're going to destroy my value. They're going to eat me. They're going to cannibalize it. Well, think carefully how you're going to play it. I mean, there are examples where the cloud platforms copy the functionality of some of the software they were selling, but it's not going to be best of breed. It's not going to be best in class most of the time. It's going to be a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, that you touch is that part of the fear for some founders that they feel like they're going to get the cut and paste piece, but then that's their problem, not the ecosystem player's problem. Isn't it? It's like you've got to accelerate. You've got to get on with it. You've got to take it to market. You can't keep things in stealth forever.
I agree that it's a real danger. But what are you going to do? You're going to stay alone and sell to 20 people, or you're going to be with them? They're going to copy paste you, but you're going to sell to 1,000 still, right? So you need to run the risk.
I was just looking into it's over 10 years ago. I went to one of the very first AWS user groups in London with Ian Massingham. I don't know if you remember Ian Massingham.
Yeah, I remember Ian. Yeah,
a great guy.
Yeah,
fellow Yorkshireman. He's obviously not at AWS anymore, but literally we had pizzas. This is what when you were saying about the two pizzas. Really. It was at Just Eat. It was one of the meetings. It was at Just Eat in London, and they had the screens up. They had the big TV screens, like as a continuous, like a single pane of glass, like the operations center. And it had a map of the whole of Europe and the UK, and then suddenly these little things would pop up across the whole map, and you could see basically what it was these were all the orders coming in. So basically, there was like an order in Copenhagen. There was an order in like somewhere else in Denmark, because I think Just Eat came out of Denmark. And then there was stuff you can see stuff. There's an order in Manchester. There's an order in Wolverhampton. It was they got this kind of, and the interesting thing there that they got was the complete accountability was that if the team, they obviously got this massive application on AWS, and what they've done is they actually organized it so the whole that particular, I don't know, the shopping cart or the checkout process or the catalog, the selection, the search. So if there's a problem in there and there's a P1, right? There's an actual, there's an issue with it. It doesn't work. That team was responsible and accountable for 3:00 in the morning. Get in the office. You've got to fix this problem, right? So that so even just thinking about it now, pizza teams, accountability, the right structure, which we talked about a bit earlier with the go-to-market stuff. And they create. I mean, it's over 10,000 people now are in that group in London. I think it's one of the biggest ones in the world. So it just shows how the power of community, the power of pizza, the power of technology. Put that together. Beer and pizzas. That's the secret.
Yeah, late night work. You need a pizza. Yeah.
So just to finish off then, in terms of today, in terms of people wanting to get hold of you, given this encyclopedic knowledge of this area, this topic, and you being obviously Dr. Canonero, how do they get hold of you? What's the best way of finding out more about this topic if they want to collaborate with you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm eager to chat with people. I want to talk about their ideas and how they work on their ecosystem. The easiest way is to contact me on LinkedIn. You can book an appointment directly there, or go to our website, worldoftheecosystems.com, and leave your data. Every time we publish something, you will receive a copy on your email.
Mm-hmm.
Buy my book, listen to my book for free.
Listen to this podcast.
Listen to this podcast. We're going to put it up there in the website for you to listen to. So thanks for your time so far. Thanks for your patience. We are talking with Andy. It was going to be punchy today because I got that energy from the boxing class that I didn't attend. And there were things I wanted to get off my chest. So
well, next time we're going to do it live. I'm going to be in Madrid with him. We're going to be. Yes, we're going to do a boxing ring at G&T Sessions. We're going to do like pads. Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Throw a topic and come back with it. Something
exactly. Yes, you didn't see that left hook coming in on that SI value proposition. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, thank you very much for today. That's Dr. Alejandro Canonero, who is the best-selling author of War of the Ecosystems, which just recently been released on all good bookstores, online and in shops. Obviously, a velvet pillow holder will be being put up on the swag store, and lots of different hoodies and stuff like that. And that was Andrew Turner, founder and host of the G&T Sessions podcast. Thank you very much for joining today, and see you soon. Ciao.
Thank you, Andy.